And that's the QR code to go to my, if you're watching this and you want to join us live, that's the QR code. I am putting together the list. I've said this and I will do it this weekend. I've got 10 people basically that have already emailed me that would like to do the beta experiment of conversational coaching. And I'm going to put people in groups of 4. It's only 1 month. And I think I worked it out for you. It would be it'd be $50 a week, $200 for the month each one, and I'll put you in groups of 4. And I want to work on this type of thing in a smaller group. I want you to get some of the principles I think that will make you bulletproof. One of the principles is why you're free to a seller. So if I have space for 2 more people, if you're interested, just email me, coachdennygrimes@gmail.com, and you'll be part of the initial beta test. So for a few minutes, indulge me. Why? I believe one of the axioms in real estate is a great listing agent is free to a seller. Now, not every agent is free, but a great agent is. You can make sense out of that, right? So one of the first things I want you to do is think about what services do we hire? Okay, just think, I have a house cleaner that comes every other week. I pay her $120 to clean my house. Why do I do that? I could clean my own house. Why do I do that?
Well, they're probably faster at it. And
Yes.
you could probably earn more money doing what you specialize in the same amount of time that it would take to clean your house. So
basically, because she frees me up that time, that headache, etc., and I could make more money, although I pay her $120 a month, or every time I'm cleaning, or $240 a month. In essence, am I making money by hiring her?
Yes.
In essence, is she free to me?
Yes.
Yes. The egg nod. So
yes.
Yeah, and just give me about 6 minutes here to preach a little bit, okay? Let me use another example. You can go to TurboTax. You can go to Quicken Tax online. You could do a lot of things. You can go to and do your own taxes. I pay my accountant $5,000 every year to do my corporate accounting. Now, is that a cost? Why would I do that? Time. Is it possible they know the tax codes better and know how to structure things that my $5,000 isn't really a cost? Meaning my accountant, my CPA is free to me. Are you guys seeing that?
They're saving you more than you're spending.
Yes, and almost anything. I mean, look at the beautiful people here, Louise. I mean, even the people like me and Don that are, we count our hairs every day to just make sure we have some. You guys are paying someone to do your hair. When you go to a wedding, you're paying someone to do your makeup because it's worth it. So you understand that concept. Real estate agent is basically the same way. Why are we free? Can anyone sell their house? Absolutely. And you know what? And sometimes I get that objection, Matt. Can anyone, hey, I can sell my own house. Absolutely, you can. Anyone can give it away. So what I want you to understand, your value proposition is how to articulate it and break it down. We call it slicing. Number 1, I'm going to go through the points. We can have some role plays if you want, discussion. I'll let Master Matt pop in if he wants to. So number 1, I believe our top 2 value proposition is market knowledge and negotiating strength. It doesn't take a lot of expertise to put a lockbox. They call that anymore a lockbox on the door, a sign in the yard. You just got to make sure you have the phone number facing the street, stakes in the ground. By the way, it doesn't take a rocket science to market a listing. Why? You get accurate information in the MLS. In fact, I taught a course. I haven't even talked to you guys this yet, but it's kind of common sense that on a listing presentation, there's 3 things we have to have right. I call it ACE: accurate information, compelling description, engaging photography. You can build a listing presentation around that, but as we know, it's positioning. So for someone to do it alone, have you ever seen a seller misprice a home? Too high, too low? Yes. Again, we are attempting to basically save them somewhere between 2, 3, 4%, depending on how you and your broker structure things. Can they misprice it by a point or so? And then when an offer comes in, if they're working alone or with a not a great listing agent, can they, by not using your skill as a negotiator, can they leave money on the table or leave money in that transaction by 1% or so? As Matt said today on Recon, you have to sell your house 3 different times. So, okay, when the appraisal comes in and the sellers by themselves, the buyer's agent or the buyer's going to come back and look to renegotiate. And then, of course, on the inspection, can you see how that percentage that they pay us gets whittled away over and over and over again that we're free? Now, I did that in about 2.5 minutes. What are you guys hearing?
Well, I'll speak up. Basically, you can slice it and dice it. If they want just 1% more, you can slice that onion up many different ways and say, gosh, do you think you're costing yourself $300 with an appraisal or 1/3%? Are you costing yourself 1/3%? Maybe because you don't know the market. Are you costing yourself? You can get that price negotiated in your favor just by slicing the onion deeper.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not just the money aspect either. It's the time, because a well-trained monkey can get a property to go to contract, but what happens when you have inspection issues, appraisal issues, etc., and you've been off the market for 3 weeks and then you lose the contract? You got to put it back on and sell it again. So not only did you, quote, lose money, you lost time, and you might not be able to get that back in a declining market.
Great point. And again, that seller is not being advised by any professionally. How many times have you seen a seller, Matt, go out and they go ahead and put a deposit down on their next house, whether they own or rent? They lock in a moving company. Now it's going to cost them money to change all that. Just go like this if you're catching on. So, would you like to do a role play around that? Louise, anybody willing to do a role play on that? I want you guys to be the agent, and I'm going to I want you to kind of like sell me. Tell me why. And again, I don't know if Matt would ever do it, but I would say if somebody's really saying, look, I'm looking for the lowest commission. I said, well, all right, would you hire someone that gave you the lowest fee? Yes. Okay. I'm free. Will you hire me?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to having using that. It's like I've said before, it's all bullets and a belt. It's just knowing which bullet to fire when. And
Matt, you're so mellow right now. You okay?
I'm fine. I know I'm perfectly fine. I was having some very character building conversations today. So I'm trying to not raise my blood pressure too high, you know, and I'm sitting here, I shaved all my hair off, and you know, so I'm just I'm going for a whole new Matthew these days.
Wow. I think you've just come down from the mountain with the monks.
No, just trying to decompress. It's been a really good day. Actually, ironically enough, kind of in that same vein, I have a client. Give you the Cliff Notes version. So a client, how we're free to people is I have a client that is in the middle of a divorce. The divorce is finalized. The gentleman that I would more or less represent, the husband, that he's quote my client, hired me to sell this property. He was the sole decision maker by the marital separation agreement, and his wife's not in the picture. Time goes by, wife wants to get back into the picture because the home's not sold yet, because I've been helping him get it prepared. And when she tries to get back into the picture, I read the marital separation agreement, which I was not a party to initially. Well, she wrote in there or her attorney wrote in there that he was to pay all the seller's cost to close. He, all of them, brokerage fees, doc stamps on deed, owner's title insurance policy, all of it. So I stopped right there and I said, don't hire me. Don't hire anybody. Because that's, if you guys are following that, if the seller's cost to close are 60 grand, he's picking up the nut. She gets the lion's share of the equitable interest. So we gave her the ball back. This again, in the same vein of a for sale by owner, not knowing what the heck they're doing. We gave her the ball back. She went out and found a cash investor offer, which I gave her one as well. I didn't tell her who it was, but I gave her one. I had one of my clients who's an investor give her one. She didn't like the number, so she went out and found this cash investor offer. Guess what it was? It was a wholesaler. And then I call my client, the husband, and said, hey, when are you supposed to close? Well, in a couple weeks. Why is the house on the market? Augusto. His name's Augusto. And wholesalers, if you understand how they work, they tie you up under contract and then they put the property on the market and try to flip it. Well, it's still not sold yet. And she did this on her own. So how are we free to people? Well, they've been on the market now for 50 days. They thought they were going to close 45 days ago, and they've lost 50 days of time, and they aren't going to have anything to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, why exactly? Why do I hire attorneys? So, and I got Robert. You want to do a role play? My last little point here, I mentioned on Recon today. I just finished helping a client. I don't really get into transactions, but there was given somebody on my team a little bit of a hassle. They've asked me to step in, right? Imagine doing something 7,000 times. I mean, that's sales, right? The worst experience I ever had with a client. I won't go into particulars, but I learned a couple of different lessons. Number one, have you ever had a ranter? I mean, these people just like to rant no matter what. A rant, you know what a rant is? And I would never talk to her on the phone after the first couple of times because of that. And I wanted basically a paper trail. So attempting to be a better person, a better Christian, or whatever, and I'm working on controlling what I say, and everything I say would be edifying or not talking at all. So this lady really tried my patience. It was very contentious. And I just took the high road. Not a natural thing for me. Here's my point. Yesterday was the closing. She took the refrigerator, I mean, the washer and dryer out was clearly in the contract. Now remember, my client is a lawyer. She understood the contract. She took it out, and now the buyers do the walkthrough, it's not there. She's looking for me to pay the guy to bring them back. She wanted to hold me hostage with $750. It's a $400,000 deal. I'm sharing this story to you because I got a point of clarity I want you to understand. Too many agents run through their checkbook for the wrong reason. Number one, if you had a kid out there and you bought them a car and they would go out there and slice their tire, would you continue to pay for it when they continue to go out and slice their tire? I was not going to reward my seller for bad behavior. She caused this, and she wants to play a game of chicken. You guys can make your own decision. And sales here aren't like they used to be, so every closing is important, but I was not going to give in. It wasn't a money issue. It was a principle issue. Here's my aha. Well, she decided, and again, if you just be quiet, sometimes, I mean, there's more pressure on them than on you. That's the way it should be, right? Well, what happened was she went to get the washer and dryer, put it back in. This is happening yesterday. And the buyer says, no, we don't want that washer and dryer. We're not going to close unless you give us a credit. Why? Because they didn't want the old one. They wanted new ones. But you can't do that. And this is what I said. When the seller was worried. Now we're having a conversation. I said, I'll tell you what. If they're concerned about that washer and dryer, I will buy them a home warranty. Now, here's the thing I want you to understand that I understood for the very first time. I will not reward bad behavior on the part of my client. However, if somebody is treating my client wrong, I'll step in and help. Does that make sense? Tell me what you're hearing. Don't run to your checkbook when your client's being a bad actor. But if someone's like putting them in a bad position, it's okay to consider that. Any comments on that?
Hey Denny, this is Rick. I actually had a very similar transaction 6 months ago where in the contract the seller said they'd keep the refrigerator and all the appliances in the place and they pulled them out. And they like totally had us at the closing table. And I actually reached into my checkbook and did the same thing, helped them to buy new appliances. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to look out for your client, but don't be, like you say, don't reward bad behavior on the part of your client, but always look out for them if the opposing side isn't
Right.
doing the right thing.
You don't condone it or permiss it. So you, yeah, you don't condone or permiss it.
Right. All right. I'm done preaching. Robert, you wanted to do a role play so Robert, ready?
Sure. Yes.
So, hey, look, it's pretty cool here, but I've got someone, I've talked to somebody else, they're going to do it. All fees are negotiable. They're going to do it for 4%.
Okay. And what about it? Is it the 4% that makes that important to you, Denny? Is it that you're saving that money, or is it putting more money in your pocket?
Well, I mean, if you're going to buy gas for 15 cents cheaper across the street, wouldn't you buy it? So I'm just looking for the best price, the best commission possible. So what's your bottom line on your fee?
So what you're saying is that it's important to you that you'd prefer to go with a discount broker that's going to save you some pennies.
I didn't use the word discount. I'm going across the street buying the same octane gas for 15 cents cheaper.
Certainly.
So what's your best fee? I'm
Well,
setting you up. I'm setting you up.
To be honest with you, Denny, I mean, if what you're looking for is to save that amount of money, then you should go with me because I'm free.
Aha, liar, liar, pacifier. Okay. What do you mean you're free? Here we go. Grade them on this, guys. What do you mean you're free?
Well, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Denny, you would agree that in the process of selling the home, first of all, you're going to have the negotiation on the price that you're going to receive for the home. Would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, hey, look, I've been selling cars my whole life. I know how to negotiate.
Marvelous. And second, then you're going to go through an inspection. Potentially, you're going to have dollars that are going to get pulled out of your pocket there. Would you agree?
So I'm going to pause you just for a minute. So congratulations on using the free. The only thing I don't like, you'd probably be in court of law. They'd be calling objection because it's all leading questions. There's a better way of getting to that point. You follow what I'm saying, Robert?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Leading
I'm
the
eager
witness.
to learn it.
Go ahead, Matt. What?
You're leading the witness, Robert. So first and foremost, he's saying, "Guy, I'm laying on the ground. Back kind of hurts, guys." So, the first thing you're going to want to clarify is that, okay, you want to hire this other agent that he's going to charge you 4%. If all things were equal, would you still want to hire him, or would you like to hire me?
Well, okay. Well, this role play, Matt. No, I said they offered 4. You're at 5. I just want I want the lowest rate possible.
All right, and if I could match what they're offering, who would you rather hire?
Well, but I'm going to talk to more agents and find out what the lowest fee out there is.
All right. What would you do if you found out the free was fee, or the fee? What if you found out the fee was free, and if I worked for you for free?
I would say, what's the catch? And that'll be the number one answer right there.
Well, there's no catch. Do you want me to keep going down the rabbit hole?
We can, well, hang on, no, not yet. Who else would like to pick this up? I want you to be able to do this. Because they're gonna say, well, what's the catch? Now, again, I think one of the things we talked about was last week or the week before that, what would you call it? The question that's, not
The
distract.
The deflection, the deflector.
Deflection. You've got to set it up. Now, Robert had the right pieces, but he was going in it too fast. You have to kind of set the table.
Right. That's what I was trying to show right there is, Robert, that how I handled that is how I would recommend people handle it to get to that point. Because the first setup was a little bit of a deflection. Well, if all things were equal, would you rather hire me or him? And then he said, well, no, I want the lowest fee. Oh, okay, gotcha. So that first one was just the distraction. That was the deflection, the distraction. Then the next question was, well, what would you say if I were free? Would you hire me? That's the tee up. So now somebody needs to take it from there. How are you free?
Okay, who wants to, great setup, Matt. Who wants to take it from there? Come on.
I can do it.
All right, Jess.
Are you familiar with the 3 parts of every transaction?
Say that again.
Are you familiar with the 3 aspects or 3 parts of every real estate transaction?
List, sale, close.
Yeah. So, there's always the negotiations for the price and terms.
You're going too fast.
Okay.
So hey, here's a metaphor. Remember this slicing turkey.
Okay.
So take each step I'll give you the first one. By the way, when Matt talks about setting it up, so all right, Matt, just role play with me a second, okay? You want the lowest fee possible, right?
Lowest possible.
So the lowest one you heard is 4, correct?
So far,
What if somebody came in and did 3?
is that the lowest possible?
Well, I mean, would they be in first place?
Oh yeah, for sure.
See, I know where this is going, but he does not.
Mhm.
Well, okay, well, another agent comes in, does it for 2. How do you feel?
Better.
Would they be in first place?
Yeah.
Another agent comes in, last one, hey, I'll do it for 1. How do you feel?
Really good.
Do they get your listing?
Yeah, I guess so.
Wait a minute, one more knock. What if somebody offered it for free and there was no catch? You see how I lead them into that? And you don't have to make it that long if you don't want to, but there's power in the diversion. Now, okay, so go back to you, Jess. I'll get you going. Okay, so, well, what do you mean by free? Well, all right, so let me ask you. And I never, now you can, but I don't. I'll go back to you, Jess. Now you're the seller. Now, somebody who doesn't do this full time, is it possible that when they go to initially price, I will say price to them on this. I don't use price, I use position, but they pick a price. When you initially price it, is it possible it could be wrong?
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
Yes.
and let's say it's too low and you sell and a seller leaves money on the table. Is it possible they could leave a 0.5 point or a point on the table?
Yes.
And what if it's too high? It sits on the market and in Florida, you know, prices are going down. Is it possible that they may lose equity by the length of time? See what I'm doing? I'm leading them one slice of turkey. I haven't even got the negotiation yet.
Right.
Okay.
You gotta like take your time on this.
Right. Yep. And then that where you go from there, Jess, because to your point, you're going, Jesse, where you went is like you went right into the okay, so we're talking about slicing a sandwich. You just handed him the sandwich. Whereas Denny and I started out, we went to the fridge and we got out the mayonnaise.
Okay.
And we went to the pantry, we got out the bread. And then you follow me? So
Yeah.
we're pulling the pieces of the sandwich out. The next piece of the sandwich, so he's set it up to where pricing. the pricing. Okay, but now let's say that you've got the price, Jesse, and you're on the market now, and you've got no showings, and it's been 3 weeks. What do you do?
So there's nothing wrong here, Matt, is using him. I just choose no difference here. It's a 9.9 or a sandwich. I just say, well, what would that seller do? Either way, keep going, Matt.
Yep. So now you're on the market 3 weeks. What do you do? And we can, Jesse, if you want, you can be the seller or
Okay.
whomever. So what do you do then?
I don't know, maybe lower the price or
That's one option. How certain are you that's the right move?
well, I'm not. Maybe you should do more, get out of Wall Street Journal ad and advertise my property in print media more so.
How certain are you that spending that money is a wise return on investment?
I'm not. I guess that's why I hired you to help me to show me.
Right. But let's say that those, so we'll go over those things now. Right. So we do those things, Jesse. And by the grace of God, we get an offer. Okay, and you didn't hire me. You hired somebody else, or you're doing it on your own, what have you, trying to save this money. You got an offer. Now what do you do?
Well, doesn't the inspection come next?
Well, no, you've got an offer. You don't have a contract yet.
Well, then we have to negotiate the terms and the price of the offer.
Is the buyer paying cash, or are they getting a loan?
Well, most of them are getting loans.
Did you call the lender?
No,
Should you?
that would be a good idea.
So what is he doing?
He's really slowing it down.
He's creating doubt. And by the way, really what happens, I mean, so Jesse, you are going to be negotiating with the buyer's agent, right? And so will the buyer's agent be working for you or the buyer?
Buyer.
They just met you. They have been whining and dining these buyers since Nixon was president. Who do you think they're going to be loyal to? How do they win with them? Do you think that might cost you a percent? What we're attempting to do is whittle down the fee.
Mhm.
Yes. And
Yep.
then that's negotiation point number one. And then of course you got negotiation on the appraisal if it's a problem, negotiating on the inspection report. And then, well, okay, so what are you going to do if then that falls through? How do you even know to find out if it's going to fall through? Oh, by the way, what about the liability? Because you didn't have a professional, and you're going to have to pay someone, a lawyer or a title agent or something to help you. You see, by the time you whittle that all down,
And hold on, Denny, they get paid up front. You're going to have to, so remember, they say, well, you're going to have to hire an attorney or somebody. Well, Denny, they get paid up front. The attorney gets paid up front. So I've said that before. Okay, so you're willing, and my attorney charges about $1,500 retainer to advise you on things like this. So you just spent $1,500 to what? Understand the contract. So now it's under contract and they want to renegotiate. You've just spent another $1,500 and you aren't even any closer to closing. And you're trying to save how much money? That was all I was saying.
the bottom line, you guys, and we'll move on and Louise can start being control tower again. The bottom line is I want you guys to be bulletproof and never be ashamed of your fee. You have earned that right.
And here's how you're free, guys. So because a lot of this may be a little cumbersome. I like that word a lot, but it's the truth of it, because I can see a lot of you are really trying to process where Denny and I are going with this. You guys have been in real estate long enough. You know every step of the transaction, right? Think about it. You know this. You're a conductor. You meet with you call them, you pre-qualify them, you meet with them, you take the listing, you get photos, you stage, you you write the copy, you put it in the MLS, you address showings, you address feedback, you call realtors to see, hey, I see your feedback. Is there a price they would be interested in at? What is that price? Okay. Then you've got offers, or you have no showings and you address that. You guys follow me? These are the steps of the transaction. All Denny and I are doing is conveying them one piece at a time to display our value proposition. You already know what the pieces of the puzzle are, guys. All you're doing is breaking it down for them.
The only thing I'll disagree with you, Matt, is I don't put mayonnaise on my sandwich. Okay, Louise, who is first today?
We don't have any participants in the chat.
All right, well,
Hey,
But
have
I
a
feel like
karaoke
some of
now.
these people were in the recon this morning and didn't have a chance to go.
Is the individual in here who wanted to know why we don't say sorry for your loss?
Is that because you're not?
Yeah, because I'm not. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I am. I'm right here.
Oh, Robin, there you are, my friend. Hello. All
I came
right.
From the reason I asked that question is I came from the funeral profession. I did that for 20 years, and it's all in how you say it.
Mhm.
If you say it with true, genuine empathy, it goes a long ways.
I agree. And so
If
that's
you
why
say it cold and callous, it's over.
I 100% agree with you. And that's why I wanted to add some context to that. So you can
Sure.
certainly say it, but the gentleman, I was listening to a podcast on this. I'm a huge student of personal growth and self-development. So I was listening to a podcast, and this guy kind of did the same thing as you, to some degree. It was in psychology. So you think about the fundamentals of losing somebody. You know, you lose somebody, you spend weeks in the grieving process of bereavement, things of that nature. You're with family. What do people do when they lose somebody? The family gets together, and if they were nice enough, the person that was, are deceased, if they were nice enough, you remember the good things about them.
Right.
And you cry and you shed tears of joy, and you're sharing these moments together. And then every person that comes up that you see after that is sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss, with no substance to it. And what this gentleman was saying was, these people just spent time around family, friends, loved ones, talking about how amazing this human being was. Would a question like, what was your favorite thing about them, be a little more impactful? Hey, hey, Robin, I'm really sorry for your loss. What was your favorite thing about your dad?
So let me just push back a little bit. That seems like a little forward. Like, why are you moving to Toledo?
Mhm.
You might have situational awareness. I mean, Robin, you can tell me, you've done this many, many, many times. We had a tragedy in my wife's family, and I learned, I didn't go through some major class, but how about, because I can't imagine how you feel. Robin, how did you handle it?
Mhm.
Well, see, in that profession, we learn to be empathetic and to change the tone of our voice. You don't just blurt it out. Most people just say, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss." Well, that means absolutely nothing. Zero. I did have a mentor in the business, and he told us the same thing that Matt brought up: is don't ever say that, because you didn't know the person, you had no connection with the person, and that's why he told us that. But over the years, I found that if you change the reflection of your voice and look them right in the eye and said, "I am really sorry for your loss," and if I get any pushback whatsoever on it, then I bring up my past profession. I used to be in the funeral business for 20 years, and I met with a ton of family. So I understand the loss.
Mhm.
We talk about that a lot. That's an inflection. We get off the paper and get into the personality.
Right.
You look them in the eye. Don't touch anything, and look them right in the eye.
Yeah.
and
So
say
it wasn't so much that I was saying don't ever say sorry for your loss. But there's
Right.
there's more to it than the robotic, complacent, "I'm so sorry for your loss."
yeah.
And then speaking, if you know anything, I agree with Denny. Sometimes it is too forward. But
Mhm.
if we know our clients, because this was a conversation about like, you know this person to some degree, they just spent time with their family, loved ones, sharing these memories. You can ask something that's a little bit deeper, about that.
Mhm.
It not just,
Mhm.
hey, I'm so sorry. Hey, what are you and the family doing to honor them?
And
So-
sometimes too, what I found is you can't get involved in that because you're not invited in. So you got to
Mhm.
read
Yeah.
your people. You got to read
Right.
your people real well. That's a touchy subject.
Hmm.
So, thank you so much, Robin. So, I've got Louise. I know that there's something in there from
Yes.
Rick. Rick?
Yes, Rick, seller fee and hard.
Yeah, I want a redo from this morning.
Louise, we've been doing a lot of talking. We'll get your blood going. So you are the seller.
Okay, so Luis, that's all I have to cover. Are you ready to put me to work?
Rick, yeah, I'm willing. I think the price is low, but I'm willing to agree with or to sell it at a price lower than I feel it should be sold at, if you will reduce your fee.
Okay. So, if we can settle on fees, I just want to confirm I'm the person you'd like to work with.
You're my huckleberry. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Terrific. So we had talked about 6% total professional fees, 3% on the seller side, and 3% on the buyer side.
Mhm.
So what did you have in mind?
I'd like to reduce it to 5%.
Okay, 5%. So my fee is 3%. Are you good with that?
Yeah, I don't.
I'm going to pause you a minute. Okay, so hang on. Sorry to interrupt you, Louise. You could have eliminated that question by saying, so as we discussed, my fee is 3. So what are you willing to compensate for a seller incentive? That's
Okay.
locking in your fee. So the only thing they're talking about is the other side. Never put your side on the table.
Right. Okay. Can we rewind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Denny, can you say that again one more time?
Oh, there's a monkey on here somewhere. Okay, so maybe you can take care of that. So,
Got it.
so Rick, so as we discussed in the presentation, the fee is 3% for my brokerage to represent you in a sale. So then what would you then like to pass through to, I call it a seller incentive, all right? What would you then like to offer as a seller incentive to the buyer's agent? And they're going to tell me. So, I mean, that way you're never putting your fee on the chopping block. You put it on the chopping block. Then you said, are you okay with my fee? Like, meaning that was negotiable.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Makes
Matt,
sense.
what are your thoughts on that?
My brokerage charges 3% for my services. What would you like to offer the buyer's agent?
Okay, so let's go down. Rick, go ahead, Louise, tell him. Well, how about 1.5%? All right, so Rick, carry on with Louise. She says 1.5% to the buyer's agent.
Okay. So 3% to me, 1.5% to the buyer's agent. So how do you feel that's going to incent buyers to come check out your home?
Well, I feel like it's priced very well. I think that they're going to come regardless to buy the house.
Okay. Yeah. So how familiar are you with what buyer's agents do?
I guess they match buyers with houses.
Yeah, correct. So I mean, they're trying to match their buyers with the appropriate house, and right. Something.
Let's go back. Let's okay. Let's go back. Let's unwind it. Go back a step. All right, Louise, the fee. So I charge, my broker charges 3% for my services. You want to offer 1.5% as an incentive to the buyer's agents to bring buyers to buy our home. Paint the picture really quick. Tell her what she's saying. Because you can tell in this case, because that's what she's saying. You want to offer buyer's agents 1.5% to bring buyers to buy your home. And it's important that we sell the home. right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So let's say that's it. We're done. I'm your guy. We're moving forward. How do you think offering buyer's agents 1.5% to bring buyers to buy your home will benefit you?
So pause 1 second. What he's doing is the same thing we do, you guys, when they, in the better way, when your market analysis says 5 to 550, they don't want that. They want 650. What do? We get agreement, knuckle bump. Now let's talk about how it might affect you. So basically you're not fighting with them on the 1.5%, right, Matt?
Nope, that's what it is. That's it. So I said that. So that's what it is. I'm your guy. Now let's have a high level conversation about this, Louise.
Okay.
What does this look like? How is it going to benefit us to offer buyer's agents, the people we want to bring buyers to buy our home? How do we think it will benefit us to offer them 1.5%?
Well, aren't buyers paying the buyer agent directly these days?
In some cases they are. But let's say that they could sell any other home in the marketplace and not have to write that check. But they're going to make an offer on your home and they have to write that check. What do you think they're going to do if they write that offer for us?
They're probably going to try to incorporate it into the offer
Right,
in the form of a concession.
right. So at the end of the day, if you found out, and I'm not attached to your answer, Louise, we could go forward right now, whatever you want to do. But at the end, if you found out that there were an advantage to incentivize buyer's agents to buy us versus every other competitor in the marketplace that may pay them significantly more, what would you want to do?
And we need to attract them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we willing to do what we need to do that?
Yes, we have to move.
Okay.
So there you go. I put the QR code there on the screen. And I couldn't find the slide. We have a slide made that you can just download that. So all the free stuff we have. Great stuff. It's all free. There is a slide, the 4 things that can happen. The 4 outcomes for a seller offering low buyer incentive. And it's great. There's only 4 things that can happen. It's great to go over that with them. But again, you get the commitment. Okay, so we're going to do 1.5%. Just like we're going to, all right, if you want to initially start at 650, we're going to do that. Let me share with you what will happen next and have that conversation Matt just did. Remember, you are settling your fee. Don't convolute the commission or fee conversation with your fee and their fee. Yours is non-negotiable because you're free anyway. You could charge them 5% and still be free in some cases. Does that make sense?
So would you ever bring up specific numbers? Right. I know that's dangerous because all fees are negotiable.
Absolutely. Once you've gotten the number out of them, and then you're explaining this, you're painting the picture as I was.
Okay.
Right. So like I'm the conductor, and now I'm cueing, I'm cueing the string section, and I'm cueing the, I'm not a conductor, obviously, guys, so please don't kill me, but I'm cueing up the orchestra. Okay. And in that, I'm painting that picture of, well, hey, Rick, let's say that you're a buyer's agent and you're about to go out and show 4 properties this weekend, and you're a little short on your car payment, so you really need to make a sale. Okay. And you've got one home that's offering 3%. You got one home that's offering 4%. You got new construction giving you a Volkswagen Beetle and 3%. And then there's us at 1.5%. Which one do you think, if you were a buyer's agent, that you would be most excited about showing and selling?
Okay.
And they're going to probably say the 4%. Okay, and which one would you steer away from like the plague?
For sure, the 1.5. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Here's the danger with that. Here's the danger with that, guys. Don't put too much weight on the amount of compensation and the lack of performance on the market.
Mhm.
Because after a while, they say, okay, we'll do the 3%. It won't change the outcome. Hear me on that? The builders that are offering, we have a builder here that hasn't sold enough condos to start the job, so they're paying 5%, and they're gonna give you a Mercedes to lease for 3 years.
Mhm.
They could give us the Mercedes for free. It won't help. Why?
Because the
Why,
product,
guys?
because the product price.
That's right. So be careful. Don't put all your eggs on buyer agent compensation. It is a factor, but it's not the factor.
Mhm.
So you guys talk to us. I mean, we're talking algebra now because no one else is teaching this stuff. So let's talk it through. If it's not fitting, let's talk about it.
Just,
And
Jesse would like to run the scenario with the for sale by owner and the discount broker and hard.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
one thing real quick, guys, though, because of this, and I'm saying this in the wake of the lawsuit we just came out of, please don't hear Denny and I saying that you need to fix, like this is fixed. And it has to be this. No, we are helping our clients self-discover the psychology of the marketplace. There's really no wrong answer. I charge X% for my services. My brokerage charges X% for my services.
Right.
I could not care less what we offer as incentives to the buyer's agents. I really couldn't. And Denny and I agree on that. Let the buyer put it in an offer in writing and then slap the client in the face with it if they don't want to offer anything. We're just helping them self-discover the psychology of the marketplace, and giving them the information, trusting them with their intelligence. At the end of the day, don't allow it to come between you and your client. It's not adversarial, guys. We are just expert tacticians. We're snipers, helping them see what's down the field.
So at some point, do you get into the weeds of all the other options about how you can offer buyer compensation or seller incentive, whatever you want to call it, right? In terms of not offering anything and having them included in the agreement. I
got it, Rick.
Yeah.
Here's a rule. You like numbers. All right. You like numbers. That means you like weeds. Never get into the weeds on anything unless you got somebody who likes weed. And I don't mean that the way it sounds. Most people won't. That's why I want you to have the form, because there's only 4 outcomes for a seller offering low to no incentives. And I can tell you what they are. One is that they may tell the agent may say, the buyer may tell, and we're going to do a role play on the buyer side of this, Matt. The agent may say, I don't want to see it. You know what's happening in our market? I'm totally shocked on this. Agents aren't even calling us anymore and asking what compensation is. They're showing a home anyway.
Yes.
And then they put it in what? They have a commission agreement when they submit what they offer. So number one, the buyer agent may say, well, I'm not paying anything. I don't want to see it. They may write it in their offer, which is what we're seeing. They may reduce their purchase price by that amount. Or the last one is they may not care. They want to see it anyway. There's only 4 things that can happen. So let's have a role play. Who wants to be the agent? I'll be a buyer.
Denny,
Yes,
Denny,
sir.
can I interject how one word can change this?
Sure.
As I wrote down, how do you think it will benefit you to offer a buyer's agent 1.5%? And this goes back to Robin's statement. It's how you say it. I almost wrote down, well, Denny, how do you think it would benefit you to offer a buyer's agent only 1.5%? I mean, that's a whole other conversation that you could get combative. So what do you think about the word only in there as well, or not?
Well, only could be good, or if you happen to know, well, you could say less than your competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and guys, one thing that may be prudent moving forward, because remember, we can't wave a red flag in the MLS of what we're going to offer, but we all get the emails from the builders, and I've done this, You get the bill, you get the emails from the builders where they're putting in the email, oh, we're gonna pay you 18% and we're also gonna take you to Greece. Take those to your listing appointments. Take them to your listing appointments. Print that email out. Take it to your, this is what we're getting in the marketplace right now.
Good idea. And you know what? In Florida, builders like realtors again.
Yeah, Lennar hated us forever.
Yeah.
But that's my point is we can't put it in the MLS, guys, and say this is what we're going to offer. But you can take those marketing emails, and other realtors are sending me those marketing emails too, where they're telling me what the commission is that's being offered on the buyer side, because that's not against the suits legislation, whatever you want to call it. It's not against that. So take these emails, print them out. Okay, so-and-so, this is a broker. They're willing to pay me 3% plus 5,000. And then this is a builder. They're willing to give my buyers a bunch of money and pay me 5% or more if I sell multiple properties. So that's all.
All right. If you work with buyers, I want you to be a buyer's agent. I'm a buyer who wants to take me. I'm a buyer and I don't want to pay the fee. Who wants me?
I'll do it. Or Tiffany said she will.
Tiffany popped up. Yeah.
All right. Hang on, just Tiffany. let's go.
Hey.
Did you get my email? If you wanted Coach Dannygrams at Gmail, just send me that information.
Oh, okay. Coach Dannygrams. Okay.
All right.
Go
So,
ahead.
hey, listen, yeah, I'm going to buy a house. I understand the values you offer, and I've been doing some research. Here's the bottom line is I bought houses before and I've never had to pay a fee. So I don't, I'm not paying you.
Well, are you familiar how buyer's agents have gotten paid?
Well, I just told you I've been a buyer and I didn't have to pay the fee.
Did you ever utilize a buyer's agent for any of those purchases?
I don't know if technically they were a buyer's agent or not, but I've used it. I bought a house and there was a realtor involved, but I don't know what they were.
Mm-hmm. Well, typically, and how it's been done in the past is that my fees, when we go in, we negotiate them within the contract. So if I could find you the perfect house and negotiate my fee into the contract where it wasn't coming out of your pocket, could you move forward?
Well, first of all, it sounds like if you put it in the contract, I'm paying for it.
I think at the end of the day, no transaction happens without the buyer or the seller. And you as the buyer bring the money. So in essence, you are paying for my fee.
Now
Stop
hang
it.
on. Now you got to it right there. I
That-
thought you were, so when you go back, say, have you bought a home before? Yes. Okay. So were there agents involved? Yes. Okay. So you were the buyer. Who paid the fee? Well, I guess the seller did. Okay. And they might get ornery with you. Where did the seller get the money? Well, from the proceeds. Well, where did the
Mhm.
proceeds come from? Then you take it all the way back to the buyer. So you actually paid the fee. The seller paid the fee with your money. So, and go right into this.
Mm-hmm.
You can duplicate that process. Are you okay? Because it's the exact same process we've been using since ever. Comments?
Yep. I was going to stop you midstream, Tiffany, but I let you run through it to see if you would get to it. That you did well. That just comes at the beginning.
I'm practicing less words.
Yeah, no. You did good, my love. It just needed to come at the beginning. The whole. Well, you brought the money, and not you. The way that you phrased it was as a declaration, whereas it should have been more of a question, kind of like leading the witness. So, well, Denny, what I just heard you say is that you bought multiple properties. Okay, and right, and did you have an agent when you bought those properties?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. And when you bought that property, money was exchanged, right? Who paid the fee? Well, the seller paid the fee out of their proceeds. Okay, right. But who brought the money?
That's
Okay.
called
Two-sided
checkmate.
process.
That's checkmate, guys. Remember, the next thing you say is, so if we can duplicate that process, are you okay?
Yep. And it's like I said, it's like leading the witness. You know, you're just leading them down a path to where at the end of the path, you're there at the end. You know, there's like you're at the end of the alley and there you are. That's what it is.
So, last couple of minutes are yours. Did you
Okay.
hear something? First of all, did you hear something today that you learned? What? Share that with us. This is our cookie.
Price is, I still like to say that price is only a question in the absence of value. So if we can articulate the value, the price shouldn't even be in question.
Okay. What else?
Just that last exchange you had about the buyer in essence being the one who ends up paying the fee. I've actually never used that spiel before. That was brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, and really quickly to that, Dean, it's not a false
It's not.
narrative. Okay, so everybody in here, please hear me. And I think Denny would agree. It's not false. The money was exchanged. The buyers have always paid the commission. It is smoke and mirrors as to what side of the settlement statement it falls on.
How many people bought a car from a car dealer, a new car? Who paid the salesman?
He did.
Well, yeah, but no, they don't think of it this way. The buyer did, and that's where they got the money to pay the commission to the salesman. Oh, this car has free leather seats. Who's paying for the free leather seats?
We are.
Yeah, because if we lower the price of the car, it lowers the amount of commission they're able to pay the salesman. That's why they fight you so much on lowering the price.
Yeah, but it's the fundamentals of it is when monies are exchanged, people are compensated. And if monies aren't brought, monies are not exchanged, nobody is paid. The seller's not paid, the inspector's not paid, the appraiser's not paid, the buyer's agent's not paid. Nothing happens with and this is a little flippant, but all right, if you don't want to pay the fee, then your home doesn't go on the market. It's because if we can't exchange goods without the exchange of money.
So the hour, what else did you learn today?
Quick question. What if they say, yeah, I'm buying and I'm also selling? How do you handle that?
You do burpees because now you get double the commission.
Actually, so funny enough, and we will not go into it today because it was an hour and a half long conversation. Just listed a property today where she's a buyer and a seller selling her townhouse. She's buying something else, and she has not transacted since Moses walked the earth. And back then, the seller paid the commission. Because remember, guys, seller never paid the commission. But back then, the seller did. She never had to pay the fee. And she called me after the listing appointment, already had everything signed. And she read the fine print kind of thing. Now, mind you, I always go over it. But, analysis paralysis. She was sitting there. She read through everything. And at least in the state of Florida, the buyer brokerage agreement is a little ambiguous. And if you read the verbiage verbatim, it almost sounds like the buyer is solely responsible for bringing the fee, for paying the buyer's agent. Again, not going to go into the weeds right now. But it was an hour and a half long conversation of me helping her self-discover that I wasn't double charging her, wasn't double dipping. And at the end, what I write into my agreements is that they give me the permission to negotiate any deficiencies from the seller. So I write it into the buyer brokerage agreement because I've always operated this way for like 20 years. You give me the permission to negotiate any deficiencies. In the event that I can't obtain them, my client is not responsible for any of the shortfall.
Carlos, is that what you meant?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was another, I had another meeting on that. And one more aha before we go, and just as a reminder, I've been to my YouTube channel, we're over 1,000. Next milestone's 10,000. I don't think we have enough people on the call right now to make the 10,000, but we can make progress. Go ahead and like and subscribe. I'll take one more aha, Matt, and it'll make me feel good. That'll be my cookie.
I love your seller no incentives, loaded no incentives for outcome sheet. I find that very useful. And I'm using that.
Did you guys also pick up on the fact, even Matt repeated it, it's called a seller incentive, not a seller concession. Concessions are ugly.
Yeah, I totally get that.
And incentives are in conjunction with accomplishing a goal. Whereas a concession is like, it's a penalty. I'm chopping your arm off.
Yeah.
Incentive is the incentive is we're going to sell the house. And in order to get the home sold, we need to incentivize people to help us sell it.
Yeah, incentives are positive.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're
Concessions
not
are concessions are negative. Yeah.
Again, but to be clear on it, it's not a buyer incentive. It is a seller incentive.
Seller. Yeah.
Yep. The seller is incentivizing other people to help sell the home.
Words matter.
Exactly.